Very banana business.
We talk about the things you think about.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very new episode of Very Banana Business. And in today's episode, we've got a great topic for you, and with the guide of our local guru. Hello, Banana. How are you today?
Hi. Good. And how are you?
We're okay. I'm actually quite hyped because finally we've got an interesting topic where we can get all our information and learn the ABCs and what to do, the do's, the don'ts, and all of those details from someone who's actually tried all of these things and someone who I would actually say is an authority in the field. So
Hey, let me stop you there. I wouldn't say I'm an authority. I'm an explorer of the matter. And I'm really excited to share what I've discovered with you and our listeners. But authority is a bit far-fetched.
Okay, I'll take that. Explorer is still better than how I would describe myself in this field. So the field, everyone here that we're going to talk about today is breathing meditation. More specific, I think breathing meditation, if we can put both of them together. But I know the question itself, it might come off as ignorant, but I mean, what do we actually even mean by breathing when we use it in this context? I mean, don't all living things breathe? Animals breathe, plants breathe. I mean, it's this whole idea of breathing meditation. It feels it's a bit like forcing something which is natural. Would you agree with that?
I definitely see where you're coming from with this. And it is funny when you think about it. What's the hype with something that seems so ordinary? More so something that we do 24/7. But that's the thing. We don't do it mindfully. The difference between breathing and breathing mindfully is that our breath is more shallow when we're not doing it mindfully. We're stressed out. We are our day-to-day is so rushed and filled with stress that we hardly live in the now. We don't often stop to just sit and breathe. The world that we've created is so hyped and hyperactive, goal-oriented. We're always trying to get somewhere. So we've even created a culture, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday, right?
Yeah.
We're working for the weekends. We're working for those 20 days of the year. We're working to get somewhere, to become somebody, to prove ourselves. It isn't just about breathing, but rather breathing to slow down from the rush and the race that we're going through. So now is the time that we probably need to slow down more than ever before.
Okay, I see your point there. But what about the whole hype that's going on right now? I mean, you can see it on social media, you can see it on TV shows, morning shows, talk shows, this whole breathing meditation hype. It feels like the whole world just, it just explored or it discovered something that wasn't there or something new. And you've got all kinds of life coaches, you've got public figures promoting it, celebrities, you've got all kinds of different types of meditation, breathing meditation, transcendental, whatever. I mean, doesn't it feel like sometimes each person is maybe promoting his or her own technique, own thing?
So it is perhaps similar to, well, it is actually what I just said. The world that we live in today needs something of the sorts in order to enhance our let's say our, how would you call it? Sorry, I'm a loss for words. To enhance our quality of life. So 100 years ago, we were going through, the world was at a different place. We had starvation, more wars. It's not that we don't have those things now, but the world has grown so much that we will survive. It's no longer a matter of surviving. It's a matter of how will we live. And I think you being the doctor here you can be the one, that the authority that will tell me there is a difference between those two stresses. One that is stress or pressure or threat to one's life, and the one that is the stress that is the day-to-day, the working hours, the trying to prove yourself, to climb the top, and so on. These are two different kinds of stresses. Am I right?
I think you're right. Yeah, they're not the same. Fighting for survival and generalized anxiety that modern people like us have today, they're not
Exactly,
the same. You're right.
exactly.
Mm,
We are in a constant, it was fight or flight back then for the survival of your life. Now it's a fight or flight on a daily basis from a very young age.
mhm,
I see my students, the amount of stress that they're under, and I ask them, like, what do you want to do when you get bigger? And most of them, the teenagers, the young teenagers, their preteens, would say something along the lines of, I want to have a lot of money.
mhm,
Everything is so hyped up around becoming somebody, making a lot of money, being successful financially, which is not a bad thing, but it does put a person in money centered, money orientated type of mindset, and this means a lot of anxiety, a lot of rush, a lot of race, and it's no wonder why all these practices are emerging into the West, because it is the Western culture to be in such a rush. So yeah, they are. Um, Today, you have all these. We're born in a world where, in a constant day-to-day stress, we're fighting to come on top, get good marks, prove ourselves, to have even just a normal life. Even if you're not thriving to be someone on top, you're not thriving to leave an empire behind. You're still just, you want to just be an average Joe. That still requires a specific amount of stress. It's like the stuff that we talked about in our one of our other episodes on the 8-hour working day, the
mhm.
stress that creates.
True.
So today's rat race can leave even the unambitious drained and overstressed. And this being said, you have all these different strategies that the East is bringing forth to the West. There are some of them are adapted. Wim Hof is more or less, from what I understand, an adapted method to the Tumo method that is practiced by monks in the Himalayas, if I'm not mistaken. And you have all these different, mind space, headspace. I think it was actually Headspace is this meditation app. You have
Mhm,
Eckhart Tolle, you have all these different teachers that are teaching basically the same thing, sometimes in a slightly different language or lingo, slightly different practices. Some of them are physical with breathing. Some of them are just sitting and meditating and breathing. And you have books written around this entire concept. There is a book that came out recently. mm, um, it's called Stealing Fire. And it mentions how all these techniques are even adapted by Navy SEALs. You have big CEOs. They're learning how
mm,
to enhance the human abilities. So these practices that have been used by monks in Himalayas, that have been now adapted to Western society, or even taken up in their natural form to be used by people in the modern world, is to enhance the human ability, our power up. And in the book, it's even mentioned how this is a state of ecstasy. Other people might know it as a state of flow. It's when you
mhm,
enter that, which for me, I explain this state when I've done all of my practices and I enter the kitchen, and suddenly I don't need to follow any recipes. I don't need to follow quantities. I don't need to think about what I'm cooking. Everything comes to me naturally. If that makes any sense whatsoever. It's sort of,
mhm.
it boosts your natural abilities to another level. So it's almost as if, for me, the spices talk to me. I sound a bit schizophrenic, I know. The spices talk to me, and I am no longer following a structure, but
Uh-huh.
rather the recipe is revealing itself. It's almost as if the art reveals itself to the artist. So these natural
Mm,
abilities that are followed even by artists, and now as I mentioned, Navy SEALs and CEOs,
mhm,
they enhance these qualities that they've harnessed for quite a while. The same way that I've harnessed my cooking as a quality, they enhance the things that they practice best, and combat and so on. And um, so yes, this is a justified hype. It is
I
a very
see.
powerful practice.
Okay, but sorry to stop you there. Just a second. You mentioned a book. It would be very interesting if you could mention, if you remember the author for our listeners, and also
Um,
so I could also,
so
look
the
it up.
book, yeah, definitely, it is free on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Stealing Fire. So let me just give you the name. I'm looking at it now.
Uh-huh.
Stealing Fire: How Silicon Valley, the Navy SEALs, and Maverick Scientists Are Revolutionizing the Way We Live and Work, by Jamie Wheel and Stephen Kotler. So
Okay.
Jamie Wheel and Stephen Kotler. So this is a really interesting book, and it's yeah, like I said, on YouTube for free. You can listen to it, and definitely quite astounding. But that's something that is found in so many of these gurus' books. Like I said, Wim Hof, Eckhart Tolle. Um, you have Joe Dispenza, but he kind of more tackles other aspects of mental networks, which, in retrospect, they do go hand in hand. But yeah,
Mm.
definitely have a look at the book. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Yeah, I will definitely. But there's this question that's kind of, I don't want to say bothering me, but I've been wondering about it for a while. I mean, I did, me being me, because I was a bit skeptical. I was like, okay, let's see, does this stuff really work? Let's see what science says. And actually, I was quite surprised because science seems to be very friendly towards breathing and meditation in general, and studies do show positive correlation and actual effects, let's say physical or medical. So I did find a study and I actually included it in our talk today. But my question now is, when I say the effect on the body, maybe I think subjectively, as the subject or the person who's actually going through a breathing session or whatever, or meditation or training. I mean, how does it affect the mind, the body, for someone who's practicing it? And I'm still a little I'm still a little I don't know. I'm still wondering about whether this kind of breathing, this, I would say it's artificial, because it's not what we I mean, when I'm just sitting here talking to you, breathing, this isn't the same kind of breathing I would be required to do if I'm doing some kind of breathing session, right? So in this way, I would call it artificial, but I don't know if you would agree with that terminology. What would you say regarding this? What do you
Okay,
think?
so I
Mhm,
assume you haven't done any kind of, or maybe you haven't really, you're not diving deep into breath work of any kind.
mhm. No, no, I
Okay,
haven't. I'm
so
curious, and I want to see what should I do to start, more or less. And this is your
okay,
job.
how about this? How about this?
Mhm,
I'm gonna
mhm.
do this on air, and maybe you will scold me for it later. I'll bring you to a
Go ahead.
challenge. How
Uh-huh.
about you take it up for the next month or so?
Uh-huh.
Some kind of breathing practice every day for 15 minutes, 15 minutes a day.
Okay.
You can do
Okay.
it in the morning, and you can do it one in the evening. You can do two. So you can start the morning fresh, and you can end your day with a short breath work as well.
Mhm.
I'll give you some recommendations. You can choose one of them, and we can come back and do another segment in a month where we can talk about how you feel after all this, the things that you've discovered. So it could be kind of like an experiment done for our audience as well, so they
Mm,
can see how this is going. I know it's a lot of pressure, but I think you'd really, really enjoy the perks of once you get the hang of it.
yeah, I think it's worth the challenge, because if it's just 15 minutes a day, I mean, it's not much of hard work, I guess. So
Hmm.
it's worth it. Yeah, why not? Let's try it. I think
Okay,
it's worth
awesome. So
trying it.
I take it that this is challenge accepted.
Yes, definitely. Challenge
Okay,
accepted.
okay, guys, we've got a winner here. Okay, so coming back to your question, it
Hmm.
isn't exactly artificial. I'm going to quote you here on a. I'm going to sorry, not quote you. I'm going to quote a book passage here. Um,
Okay, okay.
as babies, we breathe in full connected rhythm through the diaphragm that allows complete circulation in our small bodies. It is untainted by our environment, gravity, poor posture, emotions, or bad habits. As we mature, that rhythm changes. For many people, a shift in breathing occurs as toddlers. By age 11, the majority of people breathe marginally, engaging only the chest and not the solar plexus. The solar plexus is the area right underneath the. Oh, I was about to say it. The solar plexus in another language. It's right underneath the. It's between the ribs. Sorry, the.
Mm.
How do you say that in English?
Is it
uh,
belly button? Are you talking about
no,
the
no,
belly
no.
button?
It's above the belly button, below the chest.
Below, maybe, do you mean the diaphragm?
Yeah,
Below
it's
the
right.
diaphragm?
Yeah, it's a little bit underneath below the diaphragm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's the
Okay.
solar plexus. We don't expand that anymore after a certain age, not naturally at least. And
Mm.
one of the first things that we do learn when you start to practice any of these practices like yoga or meditation is to learn how to breathe differently. And at first, it's really weird because you're breathing just as you breathe. If you haven't practiced any of these things, you're breathing from your chest, right? Actually, it shouldn't be there. It should be breathing from the solar plexus, and it takes effort to make this into a natural habit. So
Mm,
it isn't exactly artificial, it's just being reminded of something that you're not used to doing anymore. And it's unfamiliar. And it is
but
definitely.
could we,
Mhm.
sorry to interrupt, but could we say, but just to maybe simplify it for our listeners, by breathing from the solar plexus, do you mean like breathing from your belly, from your stomach?
Yep, it
So
is
moving, is
belly
that
breathing.
what you mean? Ah, okay, okay.
To simplify it
All
for our
right.
listeners, in a lot of centers, it's called belly breathing to make it more simple and easy to understand. But
Mm,
it isn't exactly only belly breathing; it's also the part that's between the chest and the belly.
I see. Hmm.
In my opinion, breathwork should be taught at a very young age, so it's not forgotten. And if you can, you actually notice quite a lot of schools are taking this up. Are taking this up as a practice for the kids. They're starting mindful classes, they're starting meditation classes. Morning in the morning when they start their classes, they have short 5-minute mindfulness where they're quiet, they listen to their emotions, they breathe. Um, so I think these are quite important, and it's excellent for child development. So we don't have to pick
Mm,
this up at a later age and think how artificial it is and how weird it is. I'm
yeah,
like, I'm learning how to breathe. This is so weird.
true. Because I was just thinking of that. If this is something I would have picked up, if this is something I picked up earlier, I mean, I wouldn't have been so, you know, weirded out by it because the way you explained it now, it kind of makes sense. It's just sort of returning to an old pattern that we had when we were infants. So it does make sense because if you see babies breathing, it feels like their stomachs are moving, right? Their bellies are moving when they breathe. It doesn't
Exactly.
look like their
Yeah.
chests are breathing,
Exactly. This is
moving.
something
Yeah.
that we take on. It isn't too far fetched if you think about it as we've evolved as humans. We've went quite far from our nature because we've adapted to this
Hmm.
modern society, and we even talked about this in part of it in one of our segments where we've disconnected from nature. Our food is no longer passing through our hands when we grow it or take care of it. It's
True.
something we go to the market. It's already ready for us. We no longer hunt. There is an abundance of meat in the markets. Whatever expense that may come off as, everything is ready for us. So even our something as simple as the way that we breathe has been forgotten. Let alone, I mean, if we can't get in touch with the way our food is made, then how is breathing any different from something
Hmm.
from a practice or a style of existence that is so easily just forgotten. So it isn't such a big surprise.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. But at the same time, I'm still wondering. I mean, I kind of got the concept of breathing and breath work the way you mentioned it, but how many types are there? Because I mean, if you just Google this stuff, you're gonna get so many different results, and it's really confusing. I mean, how many types are there? Are they different? Are they similar? How are they different?
Phew, The
What do you
the
think of
the
this?
list is crazy, and you're right. There are many types, different kinds, and some of them have been around for thousands of years. Some are
Mm,
westernized adaptations of original ancient old practices. You have qigong, which is breathwork combined with physical exercise and meditations.
uh-huh.
You have tai chi, you have pranayama, you have holotropic breathing, you have modern day practices like Wim Hof, the Wim Hof method, and so many more. The main idea is to learn to breathe, whatever resonates with you. So you have these practices from all around the world, different ages, different. They come from different parts of history, different cultures, and they're all kind of connecting to the same thing. They might be different ways of getting there. So, um, the I'm not sure if it's the right pronunciation in English. The Darwish dancers.
D- Darwish, yeah.
Darwish, yeah. So
Darawish, the Jama, Darawish, plural Darawish, yeah.
yeah, so these guys, this is also a form of meditation. Dance is a form of meditation,
Hmm.
and they're doing it in a meditative state. So they're kind of reaching similar places to what other types of meditations are aiming for. Just they're using a different practice, but the
Hmm.
aim is the same. So it really comes down to what resonates with you most, or exploring those different kinds. Personally, I've explored a few.
Mm-hmm.
and each one is interesting in its own way. I can't say I've picked one. I've tried pranayama for a few years. This is the Indian type of breath work. I've tried Wim Hof. I've tried Wim Hof quite a bit, and I've been really fascinated with its with its results. And like I said, stuff
Mm-hmm.
talks to me afterwards. You know, spices are like, use me in the kitchen. My creativity is spiked. I remember when my partner was the one that introduced me to Wim Hof. I was like, oh, this is really cool. And he was so hyped up about it. I was like, okay, let me try this. And I did, and I would be bursting with energy after
I
doing a Wim
see.
Hof session in the morning before a workout or before my working day. Um, there is also the controlled breathing. There is something like holotropic breathing, like
Uh-huh.
mindful awareness breathing, conscious breathing, which is an ongoing breath work session for like an hour where you're breathing deeply and heavily. And that's a trip of its own, because when doing focused breathing and deep and heavy, you have a chance of allowing your body to release DMT. That's a substance that is
Mm-hmm.
released in the brain during your sleep cycle, when you're going to sleep, during death, during birth. And it is technically it gets you high in a way. So you can, and this high is not with the aim of like, oh, it's a happy high. And no, this is a high that helps you rewire your brain. So you can create new, by doing learning these breathing techniques, you can enhance your life and let go of some patterns that may not be very helpful to your growth. So let's say, for example, let's say money is a common is something that we're all dealing with, making money, keeping money, saving money. Our relationship with money is quite important,
Uh-huh.
and in our society many people might have this restriction depending on where you come from. In your family, maybe somebody who's listening to us, maybe their family, the quote about money would be, money is hard to come by and you need to work really hard to make money. So if you have that embedded in you as a way of living and a way of having a relationship with money, that's how it's always going to be. This is a neuroprogramming, let's say, one way of saying it. Someone else might say, if they come from a more religious family, they might say money is evil. So you would never aim to have money, and you would
Mm.
always be in a state of mediocrity. Um, you would want more, but you would, no matter how much you thought you wanted more, you would never get more, because on a subconscious level, you're wired to believe that money is evil and you shouldn't have it. So you have all these different people, these different programs, different cultures, different backgrounds, and in order to change something like that, it takes a lot of effort. It could be therapy, it could be yoga, it could be breathing. And so introducing something like DMT, your own supply to DMT, through some kind of an intensive breath work can help rewire some of your mental structures, like said, money relationships. Could be also love
Mm.
relationships, could be relationships with your family, and so on. So holotropic breath work is quite intensive, and this in this way, and it should be done also. Some of these breath work should be done with a teacher. They should not be done alone. You should be assisted, because you could have experienced some kind of emotional trauma that can be brought up during a breathwork session. The body
Uh-huh.
will remember it exactly in that moment and bring it up for you to face it or process it if you hadn't done so while the trauma happened years before the moment that you did this breathwork meditation. So like I said, going back to, it really is a personal choice how far you want to go. Do you want to maintain your stress levels? Do you want to dive deeper into yourself? um, I'm personally, I love exploring. I love trying these new things. So I still keep dabbling. Going back to a basic meditation practice in the morning could be just all you need. It really could be just having a
Mm-hmm.
15 minutes in the morning and your 15 minutes at night to start your day, to reset your day.
Yeah. Interesting. So now what I'm thinking after you mentioned all of these different types is, are they separate? Is the idea of breathing separate from a meditation, or is it like a package and parcel? Does it come together? Can you have one without the other? I mean, how does it normally work?
It's funny that you ask that. When we discussed this, making this segment, I sat down to brainstorm my thoughts into how I was going to
Mm-hmm.
share this knowledge or this idea of meditation and breath work. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember. People generally every now and then ask me, um, well, how do you meditate? And I just said, you sit there and you
Uh-huh.
meditate. And people would, my basic explanation and my favorite was, you look for the moments of nothingness between your thoughts and the time of meditation, because it's really hard to shut off your thoughts during meditation. So you look for those moments. There are these few moments in the beginning. It's a second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Sometimes it increases to 15, 20 seconds where there's absolutely nothing between the thoughts. It's quite an interesting place to be. And that's the idea, is to
Mm.
expand that with time. So when you tell someone like, you just look for the nothingness between the thoughts, it really sounds confusing. So after researching Max Strom, I stumbled upon his work and his videos on YouTube. He's a meditation type of coach, breathwork coach, and he mentioned something: you can't meditate without learning to breathe. So which brought me back to my
Uh-huh.
first experience with my encounter with breathing and meditation. Goes back to 2014 is when I first embarked on this. I think I was, ever since I
Okay.
was a kid, I was very fascinated with the thought of meditating. The whole, in every other cool karate or kung fu movie, or with the monks type of movie, Shaolins, everyone is meditating and you're like, oh, that is so cool. It looks like such a badass. I want to do that too. And you have no idea what that actually means to sit and meditate. So I did meet my teacher, the woman that was going to be my teacher for the following 2 years. Then, and
Uh-huh.
I said, I want to learn how to meditate. So she sent me home with homework. She said, go home every morning for the next week. You're to breathe for 15 minutes. And I thought, what? I was probably just as disappointed as the Karate Kid when Miyagi told him to wipe left and wipe right. I was equally
Mhm.
as frustrated. I was like, this is not what I had in mind. Like, I want to be a badass meditator. What the hell does breathing have to? I breathe. I know how to breathe. Okay, but nevertheless, I did go home and enthusiastically, because I have now a teacher, and the Karate Kid was wrong about Miyagi. I thought maybe I'm wrong about this too. Um, and I went ahead and I started doing that, and I started to notice how I had to
Mhm.
change my breathing structure. I had to change how I no longer was supposed to breathe from the chest and had to breathe from the diaphragm, from my tummy. I noticed how eventually that became a norm, and it was no longer at the beginning. I had to bring awareness to it. I had to put a hand on the belly, a hand on the chest, to make sure I see the difference, to see the difference of how my hand is rising, focus on it.
Mhm.
And it's so weird to learn how to do that when all of your attention is taken away every day by everything around you, whether it's music, the radio, the people, the clutter. There is so much noise. And suddenly, when you bring all your attention to some little part of you, whether it's your stomach going up and down, it's almost as if the rest of the world falls away, and those 15 minutes pass by, and you come back to reality, and you realize that you need a moment to readjust to the fact that you're in this reality, you're a human being, you're alive, and you go on with your day. And it's quite an interesting experience. So yes, the first thing before you start to meditate, you need to learn how to breathe. You need to connect with your own body. And some of these things used to frustrate
Mhm.
me. The entire 2 years, I was a whiny ass with my teacher. I was whiny throughout yoga. I was whiny. I was falling over during downward dog. I hated downward dog. I hated all the warrior poses. I'm still not a big fan of them. They're still a pain to do. But it was after almost 2 years, and I remember us doing a yoga session together. She's like, "Look at you. You did not struggle through that downward dog. that was pretty good, and you usually hate it." So it was now 6 years later, I do realize what the connection was, why I had to learn
Mm.
all those fundamentals of breathing, because today I can sit and I can have that meditation, and I can enjoy. I even have moments where if I've been overstressed and I haven't had that moment of complete silence to just soak in the quietness of inner stillness, I sit in my meditation for my
Mhm.
20 minutes, and I kind of go like, oh, this is so good. I don't want to get out of it. I want to stay here. It feels so nice and it feels so peaceful. So it is it definitely started to show effects within a few weeks of a constant practice. A few weeks of it, I started to notice how I handle stress differently. My body is more relaxed. Your creativity spikes, and then after you're used to the breathing, and then you start to meditate, then you can go into exploring the rest of the world of meditation if you like. But that's my way of exploring it. Everyone finds
Mhm.
their own. There's no specific rule book of how to do it and why this is better and that's not better, and so on. It's a very personal choice.
Okay, I see. So this means as a beginner, I don't really need to go to India and, find me a yogi master or stay in the Himalayas. Can I just, start on my own? Would that be something you would recommend?
Absolutely. Like I said, you can start your day off with 15 minutes in the morning. Make a moment for you. Because the first thing what's the first thing you do when you wake up? First thing, very first thing.
Think of breakfast. Think of
Okay.
breakfast.
Physically,
That's
what's
the
the first
first
thing
thing
you
I do.
do?
I just get out of bed, wash my face, and go to the
What
kitchen.
about the phone?
Yeah, we do. I usually do check the
Uh-huh.
phone. Yeah.
So
Any
exactly,
messages?
exactly.
Yeah, any
Exactly.
alarms?
The
True.
first thing that we do when we wake up is we go to our phone. I had a phase where I have phases where I'm on and off. So some days some parts of my life I'm opening my phone and checking my Facebook, my Instagram, my everything, see if everyone is written anywhere, all the social media communication platforms and all that. And you realize actually that shouldn't be the first thing that we do. The first thing that we do is connect with ourselves. Like we've just woken up. How's the body? How am I feeling? Where what are my stats? What are my levels? Instead of checking what are everybody
Hmm.
else's levels on, what is everybody else saying? It's so weird. We go to check everything externally rather than check internally. So you don't need to go too far to you don't need to go to India to connect with yourself. As much as that's a great idea, if you can, if you have the means, if you have the opportunity,
Hmm.
by hell, go to India. It's I've only heard the positive things when people have gone to India to discover themselves, and it is on my list too. But it isn't a necessity. You can find
Interesting.
yourself in the midst of war, and I say that from personal experience. Mm,
Mm. Oh, okay. So I think I'm on the same page now with you. So I'm a beginner. I'm gonna start. Is there a specific method since you've made it a lot easier? I don't need to go to India. So, but you mentioned 15 minutes. Is there a specific
So
technique? Maybe
you
I
can
don't know
open
for the
you
15
can
minutes.
open a headspace meditation. You can open a Wim Hof meditation. You can open a Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle's wife has a really nice 10-minute meditation, really easy to follow. Personally, I love it because she does it so beautifully. She slows down the breathing. She makes you hold your breath. She makes you elongate it. So for a
Hmm.
beginner, it's perfect. Even 10 minutes of that in the morning and at night, just to reset. Because we have this I don't know. It was recently we watched something on some documentary, and it was about mindfulness. And the guy said, "I go out for a meeting. I go to work at my company, and I'm coming home. And before I come home, I sit in my car. Something along the lines of I sit in my car for about 5-10 minutes, and I breathe because I'm about to come home to my wife, and I don't want her to get the work guy, and I need to reset." To become more, to connect with myself again, and to leave the work guy where the work guy needs to be. My wife doesn't deserve to have the work guy. She deserves to have her husband, her partner, the presence that we can share together. So I reset myself so I can be a better partner. The same thing goes for every other aspect of our life. We can start the morning with a 10-15 minute breathing. Just sit and breathe. Notice your breath. You can just start with that. And then in the evening, after you're done with all your work, just sit and breathe for 15 minutes as well, so you can let that go and it doesn't have to go to sleep with you.
Mm. Okay, you make it sound so
Um,
simple. I think I'm
you've
gonna have to
accepted a challenge.
go through with
You
my
definitely
challenge.
can't go back
Yeah,
now.
I was thinking, nah, you know what? I'll just tell her what she wants to hear
No, no.
and screw it. But now I'm kind of
I think
convinced
I think
you've
you
made a
would
great
really
case.
love it. I think it would really enhance. If you want to go further, if your
Yes.
day is so full, especially you knowing your day is so chaotic and hyperactive, and you've got so many things going on, taking those 15 minutes could enhance your energy levels. It could give you more energy to do more stuff. I remember stopping to do meditations during days that were so packed. It's almost as if you're adding hours to your day because you've had that moment of, okay, reset, recharge, reconnect to you, to the universe, to the upstairs, and whatever, to the wherever you're connecting, and that's a huge recharge for you.
Mm, yeah, it definitely makes sense. Yeah. Back to the study I found. I thought
Oh
I'd
yeah,
share it
please.
for you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll be like, told you so. Uh, I knew it without even reading it. But for me, being a bit of an addict to research and that kind of thing, it was quite interesting to read this. Let me find. Okay, so here it is. So this study was done by Andrea Zaccaro et al. In 2018. So it's a sort of
Mm-hmm.
it's a recent piece of research. And according to this study, it says that psychological and behavior outputs. So I'm kind of more or less quoting what's written in the in the
Yep.
in the abstract of the research paper. So it says here psychological and behavioral outputs related to the above mentioned changes are increased. So there is comfort, relaxation, pleasantness, vigor, and alertness, and reduced symptoms of arousal, anxiety, depression, anger, and confusion. So in a way, I think the study is trying to say there's more positive, I think, feelings or positive sentiments and less negative ones, if I'm understanding the
Pretty
first
much, yeah.
paragraph right. And yeah, and then the second paragraph here, there's a few more details. It says that slow breathing techniques act to enhance the autonomic, cerebral, and psychological flexibility in a scenario of mutual interactions. And according to the study, they found links between parasympathetic activity, CNS activities. So I'll
Yeah,
quickly explain
please.
what that means.
In human.
Yeah, related to emotional control. Okay, so in English, I think what she's trying to say is by parasympathetic activity. So you remember the fight or
Yeah.
flight kind of scenario. So usually the fight scenario is usually related to your sympathetic system. So it's sympathetic, to be very broad and non-medical, is the sort of on part of your nervous system that you don't control. When we say autonomic, we just mean the part of your nervous system which is not voluntary. So these things are related to the pace of your heart, the pace of your breathing, pupillary dilatation, how dilated your eyes, your
Mm-hmm.
pupils are. These kind of that's the condition of your sweat glands. Are you sweating? Do you have dry skin? Are you salivating? Do you have a dry mouth? All of these things are more or less related to this autonomic system. This is what regulates them. And the autonomic system is kind of divided into the sympathetic and parasympathetic.
Okay.
And parasympathetic is usually the one which is attributed to relaxation, sort of the sleep and rest and all of those things. So according to this paragraph, it seems that the guys in this research who did this research are saying that slow breathing helps some aspect of your parasympathetic system. And at the same time, it also talks about the CNS activities, which is short for central nervous system activities. And they were able to find this by measuring the brain's alpha power and
Mm-hmm.
theta power. And they use this using,
EEG.
the EEG, which is the machine that measures your brain waves. And in short, we could say that alpha waves, these are the ones which are, you can find them when people are in wakeful relaxation with closed eyes. And it sounds like it's a wave which is related to relaxation. But at the same time, these waves are found less when a person is drowsy or asleep. So it seems like it's related to wakeful relaxation
Mm-hmm.
in a way. And then you've got the theta power or theta waves. These seem to be related to sleepiness, learning, and memory formation. And these were decreased according to the study. And it seems that the guys who did the research here, they're saying all of this is related to emotional control and psychological well-being in healthy subjects. So if we want to be really rough and kind of summarize these slightly complex three paragraphs, it's saying that the net output or the net profit of doing breath work, slow breathing, meditation, all of these things is actually positive on the brain, at least from a
Who would have
medical or
known?
scientific.
So weird.
The,
I would have never guessed that.
yes, it is weird because for me, I was thinking the same thing because a lot of leading scientists now they speak so highly about breath work and meditation. I was like, come on, it can't be. I mean, it can't be something which is too subjective. If you've got all these scientists promoting it, there must be some kind of science backing it up. And strangely enough, there is quite a lot of research. And I would actually, I would even maybe recommend or ask our listeners to, just follow through, see if you could, if you could find maybe even the other side of the coin, maybe if there are any negative sides to breathwork and meditation, feel free if you can find something. But from my very quick research for and preparation for this episode, it feels like most of it was positive. So, what do you think of
I
this?
was I had
Yes,
a couple
Alex,
of
what do you think?
thoughts on this that might the listeners might be able to see from a different perspective. One is,
Mm-hmm.
you know how they say you never regret going to the gym, you never regret a workout, right? You go to the no matter how much you hated it, you finish the workout, and you're like, "Ah," you never go back like I wish I didn't work out. That doesn't really happen.
It's
It's the same
true.
thing with meditation. And then the other thing is that um, in the beginning it may be difficult, just the way it is to go to the gym. In the beginning you may not see results right away. The
Mhm.
first week, maybe the second week, you might feel like, oh, this is nonsense, I'm just pulling and pushing some machines, I'm not getting anything out of it, I'm just sweating and I'm tired afterwards. Especially in the beginning, if you haven't worked out for quite a while, you go to the gym, you're exhausted
That's very true.
afterwards.
Yeah.
You're not exhausted after a meditation, but you may feel like you're struggling and you're not really doing anything, it's not working for you, your mind is too loud, you're not nothing is happening. But if you're actually patient with yourself and you give yourself some time, a few weeks, and you're persistent, you will begin to see the results. The people that mostly I have had friends
Mm,
say, I can't meditate, my mind is not quiet. That's exactly why you need to meditate, because your mind is not quiet. Nobody's
mm,
mind is quiet. After
true.
after years of doing this, and I've been on and off and not always consistent, I can still say that I get caught up in what I'm going to cook later. I get caught up in how my day is supposed to go. I actually have incredible recipe ideas come to me during meditation, and sometimes I get ideas of how I'm supposed to proceed in a certain situation, business endeavor, uh making money in some new and unexpected way. And some of those ideas actually do work. So give yourself the time to rediscover those parts of you that you may not be aware that you have, those abilities, those superpowers. Just like you're giving yourself that time in the gym, you're giving yourself that time with your diet. Your diet is not working the first few days, it's not working the first couple of weeks, you're not seeing any results, and you get frustrated. The same thing goes for this. After a few weeks, you go, oh, actually, I'm feeling a lot better. This diet is actually working for me. It feels good. I mean, we're saying standardized, not every diet is working for everyone, of course, but you get the gist of the what I'm trying to say. But yes, I would love to
Hmm.
turn this
No,
to our
definitely.
listeners. What are your thoughts on this? Have you tried it? I challenge you to perhaps take this 1 month challenge with the Barry here. So you can comment down below if you'd like to take this challenge with us, and see where it takes you. And we can discuss it further. We can open some questions and answers during some of our segments after you've submitted some of your questions and comments. And we'd love to hear what you think about this, and see if you're willing to explore and see how far the rabbit hole goes. So comment down below. And this is it from us. We'd love to hear you next time. And bye for now.